I think the reckoning that America needs to have is that our military is not as amazing as we think it is. We have been indoctrinated deeply to think the American military is all powerful. We have a gigantic military budget, and dollars spent versus quality $4. No, we're not getting our money's worth on the US military, as evidenced by what TJ just said in Afghanistan. 20 years of military engagement in a country to be worse off than we started. I'm sorry, say the same to Iraq. How did we do there? Let's look at Vietnam. How did we do there? So we don't have a really good track record, and we forgave ourselves for Vietnam. We were napalming civilians and we were like, yes, cool, whatever. We have somebody had put it to me perfectly once, that Americans have an over entitlement for and underappreciation of war. Right? We feel overly entitled to bomb and destroy and conquer and command all over the world, and have no idea what it means to do that. Right? We have every entitled feeling to Israel is our biggest ally, and we can give them money and we can tell them to do whatever they want, and we have no responsibility for how that plays out, right? Which is where we are now. We have emboldens this country to have this kind of military might and power because we needed them as pawns back in the Cold War day. And when we got all into Afghanistan and Iraq, it was sort of like, all right, you're still our friend, but we don't really have time to babysit you. So you're good, right? We'll keep giving you check like a spoiled trust fund kid, just cashing the checks without any supervision. And by the time we left Afghanistan and Iraq, we checked in on our trust fund kid and said, oh, fuck, you're fascist now, right? And it happened right under our nose, and there's not a whole lot we can do. And we don't appreciate our responsibility enough to understand how to remedy our terrible influence on the world. We're the British Empire.
I do want to add that you are not the only person on this panel who has said that the military is not that impressive. I gotta say, I say this all the time. so
all right, good. Not, I was worried. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna make them both mad at me now.
No,
I was having such a good time. Ooh,
no.
Good. Okay.
Well, actually, TJ, I want to know what you think about that. Because in my opinion, and you know better than I do, but in my opinion, I fucking hate the military. But
don't hold back. Tell us how you feel.
I feel like if we're judging this on a scale of who would win a war, we're still clearly number one, and there's a fucking 50 miles between us and number two. So because we are actively practicing constantly all the time.
Where's the proof of that?
And who else practices as much as we do?
So here's the thing. It's true that, on the old trophy case, it's looking kind of bare lately. I mean, yeah, okay, sure. We didn't do that great in Afghanistan or Vietnam, but or Iraq or anything, but
or
but I'm sorry, did you guys ever hear about a little place called Grenada? Last time we kicked some serious ass
back in 1998 for 48 hours. We were the best.
I tell you what, Grenada, stopping the drug cartels or stopping not even the drug cartels, but really just anyone who was left of center in Nicaragua. I gotta tell you, in the 80s, if you were a small nation, no larger than, Massachusetts, we had your number. We had you good. But so this is something so John has asked about, how do I feel about the United States military? As someone who was there, I will say that the first thing I noticed, on a personal level, before I get to the geopolitical level, that I remember I was in the military more than 6 months, probably 3 months before I realized I expected soldiers in the military to be these people that would be awe-inspired. Everyone would be Steve Rogers, or at least a lot of people would be. No, it's just a bunch of assholes who want to be in charge. That's what it is. The second they get a shred of authority, they are going to turn into the biggest asshole you've ever seen. And that's a lot of them. And as far as our geopolitical stance, it is true. It is true that if we got into a major conflict with a major nation, we would be favored, but that's not going to happen. That's those days are long gone. And John's heard me give this example before, but we got high on our own supply with the military because we got used to conflicts from a bygone era. And the example is that, we went up against the British. And actually, it was mostly the French helping us out. Like they had the whole Navy and everything. I like how we take credit that a bunch of farmers, with with no training at all, took down the Brits. No, come on.
No, Louis the 16th took down the
Lafayette, commanded. Come on, get the fuck out of here. And then, oh, that's what I said. But anyway, we did have some, some pretty impressive shit, Spanish American War, getting the Philippines and all that. But then the 20th century, the 20th century hit, and we came in the last 9 minutes of World War I to like tip the balance of power to our allies.
Whatever, we won.
I know, right? And we all act like, if you talk to your average Americans, like, yeah, we won 2 world wars back to back. No, we were in World War I for no joke, like 18 months or something. It was an incredibly short period of time. And it was important. We did provide fresh troops or whatever, but the real loss and the blood and treasure and fighting was already done by the time we showed up. And
we were the relief pitcher is how I teach my kids. We came in at the bottom of the ninth. We're the relief pitcher.
That's good. That's good.
We came in at the bottom of the ninth, right, with a fresh arm, so we could throw the fireballs to the tired batters, and that's how we won the game.
I like the relief pitcher now. That's perfect for
It's a really good one. Yeah,
it's really good. It's really good.
I'm a good teacher. Who knew?
I love that. This between the three, amongst the three of us, this is a humility-free zone. Like this is how we roll here. But and World War II came along. Granted, we did play a much bigger part in World War II. However, it's still not as big as we think it is, because if you talk to your average American, they act like, yeah, we took down the Japanese and the Germans. Have you ever heard of the Soviet Union? Like, have you ever seen like?
Thank you.
Yeah, like the Soviets took millions of casualties to take down the Nazis.
50 million Soviets died.
In wild shit. But you talk to your average American, nah, Band of Brothers. I watched it. Like we took down Hitler and everything. It's like, it's not to say we didn't play an important part in that, but the Soviets were definitely like the major part of taking down Hitler. So then we got that World War I victory, got that World War II victory. Korea, we don't talk too much about that one. Well, we kind of like I'm trying to kind of sweat that to the side. But then we have the Cold War, and which wasn't a war really. I mean, it was like we had like little proxy wars, kind of like we're doing with Iran now. But then the Soviet Union falls. So for 100 years, in the 3 major conflicts in the American psyche, we had World War I, World War II, Cold War. We won all 3. And we got really good at fighting dragons, like these giant powers. That's what we thought. And since September 11th, now we're not fighting dragons anymore. We're fighting snakes. And we have a army fighting a dragon fighting army. And we've been sending them. I like the army fighting snakes though. That's what, the army fighting snake. It's like you ever seen Little Rascals, and they had that that tent with a 3-foot man-eating chicken? That was pretty bizarre. But anyway, so we have this army that's been trained to fight dragons, and now it has to fight snakes. Turns out, different type of army, and we kind of suck at fighting snakes. Like we're not that great at it, but we still have enough dragon fighting power that the other dragons don't want to mess with us. So I think it is true that as of late we haven't really been all that impressive. But if we ever get back in dragon fighting mode, we know we're set. And plus, the way the economy is shaped right now with the interconnected world, that fight isn't going to happen. So that's my theory on it right there.
Well, I have things to say. So many things to say to that. May I? First of all, you're not wrong about like America's like perception of their wars versus what their actual was. Like we did not a whole lot. Like it was very clear. There's like primary source documents you can find that Hitler's camp was terrified when it was obvious they were losing the war, because like, to be fair, Hitler was self-aware enough to know he was losing the war, but he was basically saying that he hoped the Americans showed up because the Soviets were fucking crazy, right? Like Hitler's like, the Soviets will fucking skin me alive, the Americans will arrest me, right? So like he knew enough to know that, and that's why the Soviets were so successful. But the reason that nobody knows about the success of the Soviet Union and how powerful their military was is because of the Cold War. Because how do you fight an ideological war while giving your biggest enemy props for ending war? The reason that the American mentality around the world wars is we won them both is because that was deep at the core of the Cold War era propaganda against the Soviets. Right? We can't be like, they saved the world from Hitler, but now we're the ones who you should listen to. We had to vilify them. We had to make them bad. We had to have been the ones that saved the Soviets from the Nazis, not the other way around. So
And
that is
And to
yeah.
tie this all back
Mhm.
and put a nice
To Kate
little
Middleton
bow
is it
on
gonna
this
be
Kate
Kate
topic.
Middleton.
No, actually, no, I was going to go back to Israel, but that I actually had this thought like not too long ago. It's like, I can't believe how coordinated our propaganda
Mhm.
was, that
Mhm.
people who were literally fighting a world war with the Soviets on the same side would then become so prejudiced against them and
I
be like,
know.
oh, their ideology is fundamentally evil, even though I was fighting alongside them 20 years ago.
Yep.
It didn't make sense to me. And like the only answer, because I
Mhm.
genuinely don't think that if we had that same situation today, that would play out, because we have too much decentralized media. And that is the
Maybe.
problem that we're seeing in Israel right now, and why I
Mhm.
think that maybe I don't know if it'll work if we hang it all on Netanyahu, because to me, the worms are out of the can, like the toothpaste
Mhm.
is out of the tube. A lot of Americans, probably over the age of 40, are going to go back to the way things were as normal, but I don't think the younger generation is going to forget this. And by the time Gen Z is running shit, I don't think we're allied with Israel anymore because of this. I don't know if they're going to forgive them, but yeah,
Um,
that's my bow on it.
I don't know. I spend a lot of time with these kids, and I'll say to that, like, think back to the Bush era when we were all mad at George W. Bush. I'm sure this crowd all had friends that were like super duper anti-W, like activists, things of that nature, right? We hate the war, all of this. I'm never going to forgive them. Did they forget?
But Bush, yeah,
But no,
absolutely.
but that's the thing. But like, that's different. Back then, the average, yeah, there were activists, but
Mhm.
back then the average American was just fervently pro Bush and pro the war. Like the Bush wasn't getting worried about the 2004 election because he started. In
Mhm.
fact, everyone rallied around the flag. Like, that was a whole fucking thing in the 2004 election.
Mhm.
Whereas in this election, the president of the United States is worried about the reaction to this war, and it's not even a war that we're in. So it's like, I do think that there's a different something in the air right
Yeah,
now than there was during the Iraq thing.
I agree. I don't know it because of how quickly it happened. Because
Mhm.
uh back in like October, November, there were still a lot. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but
Mhm. You know?
the support for Israel was a lot bigger. And then as
Mhm.
time went on, we found out more and more, like you said, with the mass
Mhm.
communication media, a lot more people started falling away. Even though there's been for like double all of our lifetimes of indoctrination about how
Mhm.
Israel's the last great hope of the Mid East. And I think that, I mean, who knows what the future is going to hold, but I don't see us not being Israel's ally anymore in
Mhm.
the future. But I do see like putting a leash on it. It's like, listen, there's
Mhm.
only so much you can do now, which we haven't been doing at all. And that time, if it's not already here, it's coming pretty
Mhm.
quick. Where they're like,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to just do whatever you want anymore. Like,
Mhm.
you can still have your apartheid state. You can still have your literal constitution saying that one group of people are entitled to be in power. You can do that, but you start expanding this warfare into these two territories that aren't really part of your country and killing people. All right, we're gonna put a hold on that. I think that's the best we can hope for the near future. I mean, who knows what's
Yeah.
gonna go after that, but that'd be my guess.
I would see it like 1990s era Israel American alliance, right? Where we were there and we had a lot more say in the room. One of my favorite stories about that era is like Israel was starting to push their luck there toward the end of the 1990s, right? And there was this moment with Bill Clinton where he was trying to negotiate, because remember they got really close to the two-state solution with Sharon and Arafat back in the day, and it was Ariel Sharon. It's always fucking Israel, isn't it? Always Israel that's like throwing actually. They were both a little bit, but whatever. He got so mad at Ariel Sharon in this one meeting that he slammed his hand on the table and said, "Who's the superpower here?" And I love that image of Bill Clinton yelling at Ariel Sharon, "Who's the superpower here?" But what I can see Gen Z doing is stepping into the role with a little bit more responsibility, the thing that we don't have, right? Like our is the global dynamic such that you can dismantle globalism? No, right? The interconnections of the economy, all of this stuff. Can you change America's geopolitical role on a dime? No, that will destabilize the world and create a lot of problems, right? And can you walk away from your alliance with Israel and just see what happens in the Middle East? Also no, right? Because you basically know that is like, if America is not involved, the Palestinians are dead. Right. We know that because Israel has enough power to do that because we gave it to them. Whoopsies, are bad. I can see Gen Z coming into power and saying, if this is the role that we have inherited in the world, we need to be more responsible in how we handle it. And I can see them approaching the alliances differently with different motivations. Because up until this point, America has, like, because of the Cold War, right? We needed to be the top dog. We needed to be the strong one, and everyone does as we say. They, I think, will take the leadership, but not the authority role. They will want to be who everyone goes to, but they won't want to be the boss. They will want to be guiders, like provide guidance to the world, provide channels for diplomacy. I think they'll be the FDR generation, is what I think. I think like the spirit of FDR lives in them in a way that they can recognize that some things are going to be gross and that you can't fix everything, but that you have a responsibility to make it as good as you can. Like that the world sucks. You can't make it perfect, but you can make it better. And I think that's the energy that they're going to pick up and run with. But I do think they'll get over this really quick. Like as soon as a new Taylor album drops or something, they'll forget all about Gaza. They're still 18, remember? They're fickle. They're fickle.
All right, guys, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching this whole time. The algorithm really likes it. The algorithm also likes when you like and subscribe, and also when you comment about how stupid Elon Musk is. That's very important. So, and after you do that, you should also find our guest and comment on her videos about how stupid Elon Musk is. So, Cannon, how about you tell everyone where they can find you?
I'm you'll more likely find me on TikTok. That's where most of my followers are. So I'm at Cannon Spotter. On Instagram as well, at Cannon Spotter _TT or no _IG because it's Instagram. I'm terrible at telling people who I am. I also have a podcast. It's called Just Buy Less Coffee, answering the deeper questions of American politics. And my co-host is Troy Matthews. You can find him at Keep Troy Blue. And he writes for Midas Media. He's one of their staff writers there as well. So he writes about Elon Musk being stupid quite often. So you'll be able to find plenty there. But yeah, that's where you can find me. That's what I do.
Thanks so much, Kathy. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you coming here all the way from the British Isles. We loved hearing everything you had to say. Folks, go follow her, follow Troy, follow John, follow myself. Our handles are down there, and do it, or we'll make fun of you the same way we make fun of Elon Musk.